I don't know if like Republicans are just being purposefully stupid or if this was just a major miscommunication. But I have never seen someone I agree with shoot themselves in the foot so hard than I did when I see crap like this.
I saw y'all on the internet coming for Cash Patel saying he's day 5 and we haven't gotten the Epstein files. Well, I'm here outside the West Wing and look at what we got today. The Epstein files, baby. Let's make America safe again.
Who are you?
I saw y'all on the
internet. Who is this? Who is this? Why do I care about her? Why do I care about her? If you guys have been living under a rock today, you might have noticed that, hey, the Epstein files, phase 1, were supposed to be released. Also, what are we doing with phases? I'm going to break a lot of this down for you guys. And we're going to go through the story and we're going to go through the confusion that I faced and a lot of people faced as they went through the news cycle today and watched just like the most unnecessarily stupid decision play out today. And it all happened because people got caught kind of lying. And I know might not like this. If you're a Trump adherent, if you're like Trump can literally do no wrong. If Trump could walk on Fifth Avenue and shoot a man and his approval ratings would go up because of you, then you're not going to like this show. Because it's time for some much needed criticism. But here's what I want to start with. Let's start with where this all started. Everything about Jeffrey Epstein, obviously, if you don't know, if, like I said, you've been living under a rock, you might not know that Jeffrey Epstein, a very wealthy and well-connected person who died in jail, not because he killed himself. People have you believe it's because of that, but Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. He was in jail because he was a child sex trafficker. This is confirmed. He absolutely was. Over 200 victims. Very well connected. Has a laundry list of names, household names, of people that he was associated with, people that utilized his jet, people that he helped financially, and people that he helped hook up with younger kids. The American public knows that the FBI has a lot of information regarding all of Jeffrey's business dealings. And because Jeffrey did not see true justice because he was, well, kicked out of this earth a little too soon by an unknown suspect, we now are trying to figure out who these people are that he helped, so maybe there can be some semblance of justice for the perpetrators, for people that have done disgusting and terrible things. Throughout the entire Trump campaign, it was promised on day one, Cash Patel would release the Epstein files. Well, obviously that didn't happen. And, I can be a little forgiving. I can be a pretty forgiving person. I know you might be watching this. If you really know me, you might be like, Kevin, forgiving? Who is this? No. I can be a little forgiving. I'm a person who can say, you know what? I get it. I know there are hurdles to jump through when it comes to trying to get through the bureaucracy, the red tape, learning all that you don't know going into a new role like Cash Patel was. But like many others, we were saying, what the heck? Pam Bondi, the new attorney general, head of the DOJ, what's going on? Cash Patel, what's going on? What happened to day one? Why haven't we heard about this? Why haven't we? Also, sidebar, make sure you guys let me know in the comments what you guys think about all this, because this is collaborative, because that's what we're fighting against here today. And I'll tell you why. But I want to start with what a lot of people saw yesterday as, oh my gosh, Maybe it's happening. Maybe that day one promise is going to come to fruition. Yeah, maybe it's on like day 7 or whatever, but maybe it'll finally come to fruition. When Pam Bondi went on Jesse Waters primetime on Fox News and said this.
One of the things a lot of people are wondering, because you said last week that you have the Epstein files on your desk, is when can we see them and what's taking so long to release them?
I do. Jesse, there are well over, this will make you sick, 200 victims. 200. So we have well over 250 actually. So we have to make sure that their identity is protected and their personal information. But other than that, I think tomorrow, the personal information of victims. Other than that, I think tomorrow, Jesse, breaking news right now, you're going to see some Epstein information being released by my office.
What kind? Are we going to see who was on the flights? Are we going to see any evidence from what he recorded? Because he had all of his homes wired with recording devices.
Yeah, what you're going to see, hopefully tomorrow, is a lot of flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information, but it's pretty sick what that man did.
Okay, well,
along with his co-defendant.
Oh, so we're going to see a lot of information. That's what we just got promised. We're going to see here one more time. What did she say? What she said?
Flight logs, a lot of names, a lot of information.
A lot of information.
But it's pretty.
So we're going to see a lot of information. We're going to see a lot of information. Well, then, lo and behold, this is not released immediately to the American public. No. Who does this get immediately released to? Influencers like Emily Austin here. Who the heck is that? Somebody who apparently has a decent following on Twitter. But then you have a bunch of other people, like people that I don't disrespect necessarily. Reagan O'Hanley. This is Chaya. What I forgot her actual name. Libs of TikTok is what she runs. Some other influencer type people. I know Jack Posobiec was on there. I'm sure I could find some other. I know that's Chad Prather. He has like one hit song where it's called "He's Still Your President." And so you get all these influencers, and apparently they were there for some meeting. You can see some more of them here. They get these binders. Oh my God, the binder that says, you can look at it. It says with Jack Posobiec there, the Epstein files, phase 1. Phase 1? Come on. We were expecting, the way that it was sold to us, the American people, is that we were going to get a just wave of recordings, images, documents, records, receipts, and that it was going to be transparently given to us, the American people. And now I'm not meaning any disrespect to some of these influencers and journalists. I want to be clear, sidebar, there's a huge difference between an influencer and a citizen journalist and a journalist. There's a huge, huge difference. Many influencers, while they do a good job of looking the right part and maybe having a quip here and there, being an influencer is different than being a journalist. An influencer can be a commentator. Even I'm not even saying that they're all dumb. An influencer can be a commentator. Some might consider me an influencer. I would disagree. I'm not that big of a deal. But somebody who influences, a journalist is somebody who does hard-hitting reporting, finds the primary source and disseminates that information to the general public. That's not, nobody at this meeting was being a journalist. No, in fact, even if you go to Caroline Leavitt, who is the press secretary, I'm just going to even do a lot of this on the fly because I'm in law school. For anybody who doesn't know, I haven't even introduced myself, but you guys probably might know who I am. It's on the bottom of the screen. My name is Kevin. I'm a law student at Liberty University. I host the show Speechless. And that's apparently what we are because we didn't get to know any of this information. We can go, though, and I can find Caroline Leavitt. Caroline Leavitt. And she tells us a little bit about what the meeting was about today with these influencers that got to go. She got to meet with the influencers today. Yay, yay, yay. All of these, a great meeting today with some very influential social media content creators. These folks have large followings, larger followings than most of the mainstream media reporters, and the media landscape has changed. And that's the purpose. And here's one thing I really do like about the recent Trump administration. The recent Trump administration, what they have done is they have basically understood that social media can have just as much, if not more, influence than the way the mainstream media used to on the American public. And so what they've done is they've allowed content creators, people with shows much larger than mine, but similar to mine in terms of operation, to attend things like White House press briefings. And obviously they give them different types of platforms, but to make the release of these documents this kind of show, and also to not allow everyone to get these documents at the same time. When I say everyone, it's as simple as putting the PDF up on a website. Creates this level of a caste system for who gets information when, and reestablishes the entire idea of what social media has destroyed about mainstream media. At one point, the journalists, the mainstream media, the news, whatever you watched, whatever you read, was the gatekeeper of information. And they drove the public narrative because they had all the information. They were out collecting it, and then they would tell you what they thought you needed to know. Now, with what social media has done, is it has created a level of transparency where everyone has the information, and we help shape and control the narrative. But if you do not give everybody said information, or even delay who gets information when, you thus allow for the narrative to be once again out of an individual's control completely. And that is what was created here. Now, what I will say is, fortunately, there's nothing that interesting in these documents that we didn't already know anyways. And so I see comments. Thank you guys for commenting. I didn't hear they were going to release all that stuff. Yeah, they're not going to release all that stuff yet. And we're going to get to that. Everybody make sure you like, subscribe, you comment, share, all that fun stuff. I'd appreciate it. But now let's take a look. So we have all these influencers who come out and they're all, and what actually happened? Why were they actually there? Well, one of the influencers that was there, I actually really appreciate this post, goes in a long list of exactly as what she knows happened. And so we're going to take a look at this right here. This is Liz Wheeler. Liz Wheeler says, this is the story. President Trump and AG Bondi committed to releasing the Epstein files. The FBI was told to deliver the files to Pam Bondi. They did, about 200 pages. Bondi smelled a rat because there was nothing juicy in these 200 pages, just flight logs and a Rolodex of phone numbers, no smoking guns. Still, Bondi promised to release the documents, so she prepared a binder of them. Then last night, a whistleblower contacted Bondi and revealed that the Southern District of New York was hiding potentially thousands of Epstein files, defying Bondi's order to give them all to her. We're talking recordings, evidence, the juicy stuff, names. These swamp creatures at the SDNY deceived Bondi, Cash, and you. Be outraged that the binder is boring. You should be. Because the evil deep state lied to your face. The binder is powerful because it's tangible, physical evidence of the disgusting stunt the Southern District of New York tried to pull. Now, here's where I have a problem. Where I have a problem in this statement is that it totally negates the fact that this publicity stunt happened in the first place. Are we going to ignore the fact that just last night, Bondi said that we're going to be released this treasure trove of information? With all due respect to Pam Bondi, I know she has an amazing career behind her. Maybe it was even after she was on Fox that she got this whistleblower. But don't go on the news and tell me I'm going to be getting all this hard-hitting information and that we as a general public are finally going to know things not previously known regarding the sickening, disgusting person that is Jeffrey Epstein was. But I digress. Let's continue. The legacy media has betrayed you again and again and again. They lie to you, they smear you, they gaslight you. They deserve no special access to real-time exposure of corruption because they played a role in covering it up in the first place. Now, this is where she tries to justify all these influencer and pseudo journalists and again, no disrespect to these people, but like if you repost a video that C-SPAN had and then say, wow, so crazy, you're not a journalist. Anyways, you are the media, Elon said. Yes, we are. So celebrate the regular people are being given access to the most powerful people in our country to report on despicable corruption as it's being uncovered in real time, and be very, very angry that the deep state agents in the swamp at the Southern District of New York are at this moment defying President Trump and AG Bondi and you who voted him into office, lying and hiding truth about Epstein because they don't want their own corruption and weaponization of government exposed. And now, to be clear, we even have further evidence of this and of exactly what is actually happening due to the fact that Pam Bondi actually released a letter that she sent to Kash Patel. So let's take a look right here at that letter that was posted all over X. This is from Benny Johnson's account. I hope I can make it a little bit bigger for everybody here. That made it smaller. But okay, I'll read it out to you guys. Hopefully you can see it. Dear Director Patel, before you came into office, I requested the full and complete files related to Jeffrey Epstein. In response to this request, I received approximately 200 pages of documents, which consisted primarily of flight logs, Epstein's list of contacts, and a list of victims' names and phone numbers. I repeatedly questioned whether this was the full set of documents responsive to my request and was repeatedly assured by the FBI that we had received the full set of documents. Late yesterday, I learned from a source at the FBI field office in New York was in possession of thousands of pages of documents related to the investigation and indictments of Epstein. Despite my repeated requests, the FBI never disclosed the existence of these files. When you and I spoke yesterday, you were just as surprised as I was to learn this new information. By 8 a.m. tomorrow, February 28th, the FBI will deliver the full and complete Epstein files to my office, including all records, documents, audio, and video recordings, and materials related to Jeffrey Epstein and his clients, regardless of how such information was obtained. There will be no withholdings or limitations to my or your access. The Department of Justice will ensure that any public disclosure of these files will be done in a manner to protect the privacy of victims and in accordance with the law, as I have done my entire career as a prosecutor. I'm also directing you to conduct an immediate investigation into why my order to the FBI was not followed. You will deliver me a comprehensive report of your findings and proposed personnel action within 14 days. I appreciate the expediency of all this. I appreciate your immediate attention to the important matter. I know that we are both committed to transparency for the American people, and I look forward to continuing to work with you to serve our president and our country. Now, I look at this. I look at this letter. I look at what we're learning about everything that's going on. And look, I believe that this government, or that this has been a lot, this presidency has been a lot more transparent than the last one. In fact, I'm pretty sure I could, if I just look up Trump questions, I think I'd find, if you look at the difference between Trump and Biden in terms of questions, I know it was released just like the other day. Trump in his first month, here it is. In his first month, Trump has taken almost 10 times the amount of questions that Joe Biden did in his first month. We're clearly getting a lot more access, but access is not congruent with transparency. Now, do I believe that Trump's presidency is being much more transparent, or at least attempting more transparency? I 100% believe that. But when we have Pam Bondi, who last night goes on Jesse Waters and says that we're going to get all this information, where is it? Well, then we find out, oh, no. We really don't have it. So what did we get? What did we get? Well, it was just like less than an hour ago. We finally got all the documents that like 7 hours ago were released to all of these influencers. And here is the Attorney General's website. We see Attorney General Pam Bondi releases first phase of declassified Epstein files. And we can see here, there's the massive press release. This is the first phase of classified files, largely contains documents that had previously been leaked. So again, a lot that we already had, but never released in formal capacity by the United States government. This Department of Justice is following through on President Trump's commitment to transparency and lifting the veil on the disgusting actions of Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirators. The FBI is entering a new era, one that will be defined by integrity and accountability. In fact, this is actually something that was posted. I'll pull it up because Kash Patel did respond to a lot of this, and this is exactly what he said. It was posted to his ex. The FBI is entering a new era, one that will be defined by integrity, accountability, and the unwavering pursuit of justice. There will be no cover-ups, no missing documents, and no stone left unturned. And anyone from the prior or current bureau who undermines this will be swiftly pursued. If there are gaps, we will find them. If records have been hidden, we will uncover them, and we will bring everything we find to the DOJ to be fully assessed and transparently disseminated to the American people as it should be. The oath we take to the Constitution under my leadership that promise will be upheld without compromise. It's a great response to an awful day, to an absolutely awful day, and an awful, awful look. But we go back here. That's exactly what I read here in this press release as well. Attorney General Pam Bondi requested the full and complete files related to Jeffrey Epstein. In response, the department received 200 pages of documents. However, the Attorney General was later informed of thousands of pages of documents related to the investigation and indictment of Epstein were not previously disclosed. The AG has requested the FBI to deliver remaining documents to the department by 8 a.m. on February 28th and has tasked FBI Director Kash Patel with investigating why. We just went through a lot of that. If you want to look at, you can go find Attorney General Bondi's letter. I'm pretty mad, if not evident by my tone and words. I'm pretty mad. I feel very misled. And I say this not because like my feelings are so important. Not to most. I'm not expecting you to have much sympathy for me, but I do expect, similar to even what Liz Wheeler said, you should probably be angry too. We were misled by Pam Bondi last night on Fox News. And that said, she was misled too, it would seem. But we also need to remember, we're going to go through some of these documents. Actually, we'll go through all of them because I've skimmed them in like the 15 minutes I had since they were posted to when I started this stream. I skimmed them. And so I can kind of summarize each document for you. But it's not things that we didn't already know. Like, I don't want to spend too much time on it. But like, we start with the evidence list here. Okay, so this is an evidence list of things that were found through like when they arrested and found Jeffrey. So they have things like red rope, 10 photographs, miscellaneous financial documents, recorded interview, red rope. What else did we have in here? Sorry, we got cellophane. We got some weird things on here too. Peach massage table, green massage table, beige massage table, brown massage. This man had more massage tables than an actual massage parlor, it would seem. Weird stuff. I mean, he's got HP tower, Lenovo tower. So it's like computer stuff, servers, different servers, probably to hide all of his kitty corn. And corn is not what I mean, but I don't want to get a lot of different like iPads here, Macs, desktops. So that's all an evidence list. That's the first document that we got. A flight log released. Again, this says released with US v. Maxwell. These are all things that we learned during Ghislaine Maxwell's trial, things that were leaked around that same time. These have a lot of names on them, but it's all names that we've heard. I mean, like, it's going to take a second. I know my computer's buffering. It's doing a lot. It's trying to pull up all these different documents. We can look through these documents and all these flight logs, but I can tell you there was a Newsweek article. Newsweek has reported a lot of this already. A lot of other places have already reported on these. You can go look through these. You can see what's redacted. You can see what's not. But these names are not anything new. I can read to you right now. I know a lot of the names off the top of my head, but names that are implicated in all of these things. I'll open another one so that you guys can see. This is Ghislaine Maxwell. You can see flight logs. I believe actually if we go to the end, we look at the contact book. I think this is probably what you're going to be most interested in. This is where you can see specific names of different people. You got Armstrong there. You got Alec Baldwin is right there, which is another one we knew. We got Craig Barnett. You can see a lot that is obviously redacted within here. We should get these unredacted. We got Mike Bloomberg, former mayor of New York and also former presidential candidate. Spent the most amount of money ever to lose a presidential race. Actually, might be Kamala Harris now. I'm not sure. I can conglomerate a lot. I mean, if you guys want to go, this is all online. You can sift through all of this, but I can conglomerate it really easily for you. Here are the names that are in that posted through Newsweek. Ghislaine Maxwell, here, like obviously. Virginia Lee Roberts Guthrie, who was an Epstein victim who came forward. Prince Andrew of England. Let's go through, I'll just go through main names. Kate Blanchett. We got Bill Clinton, David Copperfield, Cameron Diaz, Leonardo DiCaprio, Alan Dershowitz. These are all names that we really knew. I remember Alan Dershowitz going on every show he could to try to be like, I didn't really like that guy. I didn't really like that guy. I'm Alan Dershowitz. I didn't really like that guy. And I didn't really know him that well. I was not friends with Jeffrey Epstein. I didn't do anything. And he only made himself sound more guilty. You want to know who was implicated in the Jeffrey Epstein files? Well, number 28, Jeffrey Epstein was there. Al Gore, former presidential candidate and former vice president. Who else do we got on here? Stephen Hawking, which is one of the weirdest ones I've ever seen. Michael Jackson. All of these we pretty much already knew. Kevin Spacey, no surprise there. Donald Trump, another one we knew because he came forward. Bruce Willis. A lot of big names, a lot of people that were implicated. This is nothing new. We were given nothing new. What we were given was probably honestly, where is, truly, somebody needs to call Geraldo Rivera right now because this might as well have been, so far, the Al Capone vault. There's nothing there. There is nothing new that we didn't already know. And we get a lot of talk from these politicians and these officials that we have. We get a lot of talk that says, we're going to pursue justice. Charges will be coming. Charges will be coming. Just like I want to know about where the actual Epstein files are, the documents, the videos, all of it. I asked the question to the charges, to the files, to transparency. When? I will believe it when I see it. Because what we had right here was Republicans shooting themselves in the foot. It was Donald Trump's administration shooting itself in the foot in the most unnecessary way possible. To have all these influencers, here's what I think happened. Because we've gotten some information. We know that here's what I do know is that these influencers were invited to a day in which it was going to celebrate. They're invited to the White House by J.D. Vance, and they were there to celebrate the idea of alternative media influencers and the role they played with helping Donald Trump win the election and the role they play in America in evolving freedom of speech and the idea of what press is and media is. I think it's important to note things like this. You got to be careful about social media influencers as they're not all honest. Of course, some are not all honest. They will contort the truth and withhold vital information. Exactly. Everybody has a bias and many will utilize their own to promote whatever belief system they have. All of that said, what these influencers did is they went in. They were not told they were going in for an Epstein file briefing or anything like that. They were not given anything. No. And then Donald Trump came in to part of their meeting. And I know this because I watched Emily Austin's live stream that she did soon after it happened. And she said that all of a sudden Donald Trump came in, they were given these binders and they were given this access, and they were told that later today it would be released to the public. And then they did a photo op. And so this is why I don't have any disrespect for those for those influencers and stuff, because I don't think they really knew all that much of what was going on. I think that they were very honored for the opportunity, as just about anybody would be. And then they were kind of used, I think, as a prop. And what I think happened is, I think Pam Bondi went on Fox News last night and said that something was going to get released today. I think she knew at that time that it was just going to be these flight logs, and it was going to be official stuff that, like she said, had never actually been officially released before. So she gets kind of worried. And so I think that within that, they decided, hey, we are going to try to soften the blow with maybe some of these liked personalities and tying them to it. But the imaging of it was awful. And here's what I can compare it to. And here is why, if you're one of the people that's trying to defend this and saying like, oh, trust the plan, Donald Trump, this is actually great, but I just don't know why yet, whatever. If you're somebody trying to defend it, don't. Because you were probably one of those same people that lambasted Biden, like I was, for inviting these tranny influencers who take their tops off for Pride Days and pandered to Black audiences for Black History Month with people that did not resonate with the Black community and the general sentiment of the Black community. Like, you want to know who utilized influencers like Harry Sisson to promote their agenda? And you want to know who we made fun of for doing that? Biden did all of that. I don't think Trump had much to do with this. This is like one of the least Trumpian decisions I would have ever expected. This is a clear blunder, a marketing failure. If you want to promote transparency, then be transparent. And what that means is, here's exactly what Pam Bondi should have done. Pam Bondi should have, once this whistleblower came out, she should have been like, oh my gosh, we're not going to release anything tomorrow. I am only going to release this letter that says, or she could have just softly posted all the documents that she did in the official capacity, and then posted the letter, and then the letter would be the bombshell. The letter would be the bombshell, because it's clear that we have corrupt, at least based on the letter. If we trust the letter, if we trust this narrative that's being spun, if we trust it, then it would be clear that we have a corrupt FBI, a corrupt rogue FBI, not necessarily a corrupt rogue Kash Patel. We have a corrupt and rogue FBI that is operating for some unknown motive to keep these documents from getting released. To which then I start to question whether I don't want to say the existence of these documents, but the preservation of these documents have been kept. Who knows? Especially with all this attention on it right now. Maybe they're already shredded, encrypted, deleted. Heck, if the Clintons can make people allegedly make people mysteriously disappear, if Hillary, better than David Copperfield, it's a callback to the flight log, can make 3,000 emails disappear, don't you think they could do the same with the Epstein files? Think about it. I don't necessarily think that's 100% the case. I think that there's probably some way, I mean, hopefully that they've been copied and copied and copied and in a way that makes it so that it can be easily accessible to the American public. That would be the ideal version of events that we would be seeing. But after this blunder today, I'm not very hopeful. I want to make sure that I hit everything about this because I was pretty fired up about this throughout the day. Had multiple phone calls, like my girlfriend, my mom, where I say, I'm just like, this is outrageous. This is outrageous. I'm probably more mad about this than I should be. But heck, we should be very, very angry. Things are being withheld from us, the American people, things that relate to the entire idea and fabric of our justice system. I mean, when you have a man, there's clearly cover-ups here. I mean, I say this obviously with no knowledge of anything else than what I've been told. So take it with a grain of salt. If you think of me so highly as to consider me an influencer, thank you. Or if you think of me so lowly to consider me an influencer, I guess thank you. Depends on how you see them. But this does not add up to me. Anything with the Epstein entire case, everything has been shrouded in some level of lie, a half-truth, no truth, a cover-up, corruption. And the thing is it seems like every single time we feel like we get a little bit closer to an answer, we just end up having more questions. When I say that this was an unnecessary blunder, what I mean is that Pam Bondi and the Trump administration could have handled this so much better to make this a huge win. But in an attempt to try to show just how transparent they are, they did the exact opposite. A government that I was given no reason, or at least an administration that I was given no reason to not trust in terms of transparency, has now given me a very large reason to trust their transparency. What do you guys think? Am I crazy? Am I crazy? Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends. I just do not understand how anybody, who signed off on this today. Like no one, if we go into, let's just look at what people on X are saying. Let's just look. Because I don't see how anybody could have seen this as a good idea. I don't understand. I'm trying to see. Let's go find. If I just look up Epstein. Anybody saying this is a good idea? Let's take a look. This is exactly, that's actually very true. This is exactly what we thought we were going to get. We thought these Epstein files were going to be flooding in, and we've been jerked around. Let me be very clear. Epstein files were not released today. That is true. I think Nick Sortor here gets it right. We got what we already knew. Nothing new was revealed today. This was a very, very kind of backhanded way of doing all of it. This is just insulting. We didn't ask for an e-celeb photo op. We asked for unredacted Epstein files. Absolutely. This is honestly one person I think would at 100% deserve to be there. Scott Pressler was apparently there. Scott Pressler did so much work on the ground. This is my problem. When I give a hard time to a lot of these influencer types, I do it because if you know my history and you know my background, you know I did a lot of work doing grassroots, collegiate conservative activism, especially before it was like kind of popular to do so. I started doing conservative activism when in like 2015, 2016, when I was about 15-ish years old. And it was not popular. And I started a Turning Point chapter at a college. It was not popular. I made more enemies than I did friends simply for stating what I believed. And then I based my commentary on those on those instances and on a lot of the work that I did. And I now have a political science degree. I'm getting a law degree. I have a lot of experience in law and politics. There are a lot of these influencer types who it's just like they watched a lot of like Ben Shapiro, or they watched a lot of I don't know, Fox News, and maybe they read a few books, and they were just but then they're pretty, or they had a tweet that blew up, and then now now all of a sudden they are treated like they're a political expert. I don't care what you have to say. That's when I disparage on an influencer type, that's what I'm disparaging is sure, anybody can wake up one day and start a Twitter account and say some random crap. But if you've never actually like physically registered a voter or physically knocked doors for a candidate, sorry, I don't really care what your political opinion is. Like or I don't want to say that. I care what your political opinion is, but it doesn't matter as much to me as somebody who's put in the work. And now Scott Pressler is one who was there today. Scott Pressler knocked thousands and thousands of doors. Scott Pressler moved and changed his address, physically moved all of his belongings to Pennsylvania to vote for Trump. Got other people to do it too. That's huge. That's huge. That's a person who deserves everything that is given to him in terms of a privilege, such as being at the White House for something like this. See, there's a lot of people are just so confused and unhappy. I think this sums it up. This sums it up too. The Babylon Bee, a black bar visited Epstein Island hundreds of times. Because if it's not something we already knew, it's still redacted, which is just awful. We got rickrolled. That's what a lot of people are saying. I think even the House Judiciary Committee posted the rickroll video. The smiling Epstein files photo op reveals something deeply sad about our country. How many people actually care about the victims and how many just want to gossip about celebrities? This isn't a show. There are real victims, many who were children. And that's honestly, I'm not a big fan of Caitlin Bennett, I'll admit. But I will say that's where I land with a lot of this is a very, very serious issue. And not to say that some of these people like Jack Posobiec, I know is a very serious individual. I've met him and he's quite an intimidating person. But to release it in this way does not give me confidence of a seriousness worthy of one of the most vile men in modern American history. Like, nobody is a Jeffrey Epstein defender. Nobody is a Jeffrey Epstein defender. Terrible, terrible person. There are still people out there that support Kanye. Now it's getting fewer and fewer, but there are still people out there that support Kanye. If you were going to have, I don't know, an investigation into Kanye West, and you invited influencers to get the binder on the investigation into Kanye West, that would make sense. That would make sense. More acceptable. Kanye West's behavior recently has been quite abhorrent, quite condemnable. But he didn't rape kids. So Jeffrey Epstein, on the other hand, has ruined the lives of hundreds of young women, especially. I'm sure there's young men in there too. Hundreds and hundreds of people. And yet, when we first think that we're getting some, I guess the only saving grace of the entire release of these documents, the ones that we pretty much already had, the only saving grace, that was a nothing burger. Nothing was in them. There was nothing special about it. There's an unnecessary loss, the biggest L that the Trump administration has taken so far. But I don't know. Here's some things that let's do things I love and things I hate about this. Thing I hate is whatever. I'm 45 minutes now. That's how long. If you want to know the things I hate about this, rewind and watch the last 45 minutes again. If you want to know what thing I like about it, of all the things the Trump administration has done so far, this is the worst. Why I love that is because the worst thing they have done so far is a PR move. The worst thing the Trump administration has done so far is a PR move. Other than that, promises made and promises kept. We're getting significant levels and numbers of illegal immigrants, the worst of the worst. People of very, very varying criminal degree, but all pretty bad, getting deported, sent to Gitmo, and then deported. We have some people are complaining about prices rising a little bit and the tariffs, but we have a alleged peace deal negotiated with Russia and Ukraine, a peace deal with the Middle East. The Trump administration is winning by varying degrees, but they are absolutely winning right now. And that is 100% clear. There are other wins that we're taking right now. If you guys knew, actually, we had President Trump sign that executive order regarding men and women's sports, and we want to keep women's sports and protect Title IX. Interestingly enough, actually, there is a new advertisement that was released. We see you. A new ad calls out the NCAA for a new transgender policy. And this is it's a pretty interesting thing that I watched a little bit of it. A new ad from a pro-women brand, XX versus to XY Athletics, calls out the NCAA for a new transgender policy that women's sports advocates warn still will allow a possible loophole for trans-identifying males to continue. Let's take a look and a listen to this ad. It was shared by Riley Gaines, who I've had on my show before. Love Riley, very nice woman, and very, very smart and good godly woman. Here's this.
We see you, NCAA.
We see you, NCAA.
We see you.
You announced a new policy after Trump's executive order.
This policy does not protect females.
It sets no clear boundary.
This policy does nothing
To ensure women's sports
Are for women only. You said you were going to comply with federal law.
But you didn't.
Your policy is based on a birth certificate.
That's the proof required.
But it's no proof of sex.
A birth certificate is a piece of paper.
which can be altered in all but 6 states.
And around the world.
And they can be wrong.
In 44 states, a person can change their birth certificate to say female.
And your policy still allows males on women's teams and in their locker rooms.
We see you, Charlie Baker.
We see you, Charlie Baker.
We see you, NCAA.
We see you.
We've been spit on.
We've been yelled at.
Called terrible names.
We've been shot at.
You tried to silence us.
But we are not going away.
Young athletes are depending on us.
They're depending on you. And if you won't stand up for female athletes,
We will. We demand fair sports.
We deserve safe sports.
We aren't backing down.
NCAA women's teams
Are for female athletes only.
That means those born female.
XX only. No substitutes.
I love it. I love it. And here's the importance of this. Obviously, the ad closes, as we just saw, with a call to the NCAA to go back to the drawing board and fix the policy, warning the governing body that athletes and women's sports advocates can see right through what it appears the NCAA is attempting to do. The NCAA announced its new policy for student athletes assigned male at birth and their participation on women's teams following Trump's executive order, which uses gender identity language instead of male and female definition for sex. It is that gender identity language that has Gaines and other advocates for girls' sports concerned. Number one, first and foremost, this policy removes all accountability from the NCAA, which, of course, is something that has been on their minds for a long time. It provides loopholes for both states and schools because it does not define sex. which we have seen now is a problem, unfortunately. And I think things like this are great. And the reason why this is great is because I don't know if you guys remember, but there was an ad during the Trump campaign. And this was actually an ad that was said to have moved a lot of voters towards Trump. It was when he had an ad that was anti-Kamala. I think I might have even reacted to it on the show. It was anti-Kamala, and it was how Kamala advocated for sex changes for prisoners, and then how biological men were being allowed in women's prisons. And it was very, very just anti-trans mania. And it resonated with a lot of people. And so it's really nice to see that we are moving back to some level of normalcy to where what we're doing now, like it felt for a while like we were taking on the entire establishment of this Legibutica fever. And like everything was against us. Like it felt like all of society, because of the way that the media was, because of the prevailing interests and policies within companies, within our workplaces, within the government, within government institutions, that if we were to even say the slightest thing against trans people, then you were slapped, and you were treated as if like you were this ardent, terrible person. You were basically a Nazi, is how they would frame it. And now we have this way where we've kind of drained a lot of the pool to where now we can go after the specific people that are still holding out on this mania. And so we can truly get rid of it. As Michael Knowles says, just to fire up the libs, we can eradicate the trans ideology from civil society, which is exactly where we need to be. And if you are questioning, whoa, why would we need to do that? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think. Comment because then I can answer your questions, share it with your friends, but subscribe because that's the kind of thing I talk about here on Speech. This is why we need to eradicate the trans ideology, why it is bad for society. It denigrates society. Maybe this weekend I'll go live. I haven't done like a chill live in a while. I haven't even been live in a while. I'll give you guys quick life update as we're talking about this. I love this ad. I think it's good. I thought it was worth everybody else seeing. That's why I bring it on here to show you guys that we are now able to go after these institutions, these small institutions that are still holding out, and it's now become much more socially acceptable and socially supported to do so. So I love it. But where I've been, I'm in law school right now. I got a lot of work. It is not easy for me to go and do a live all the time, especially because I am running on a very limited budget, and so I try to do a lot of things that could hopefully expand my ability to afford my day-to-day living. So if you guys want me to go live more often, send a super chat or check out. I know I also have my Venmo Cash App down there. I'd love to go live more often. It's just not feasible for me because I need time to do other things in my life and study and do all that work. So that's why I'm not necessarily going as live as much, but maybe this weekend I'll go live and I'll do a chill live where I react to some things. If you guys ever want me to react to anything, put it in the comments. Let me know what it is. I did watch Michael Knowles did like this 25-on-1 video where it was a lot of these LGBTQ activists and people, and he explained to them very well, despite many of them being kind of maniacs in the way that they voiced and not very good at articulating their own opinions. He did a very good job of staying calm. And it might be worth reacting to some of that here. Let me know if there's anything else you guys want me to react to in the comments section. I'd appreciate it. I see the Raven in the comments. As a wise person told me, everyone has a price. That is absolutely true. Everyone does have a price. And that's why I say, I'm not going to talk about, I'm not going to change my opinion or views for a price. 100% will go live more often though. If it started becoming more lucrative, I'd really appreciate that. That's why I say, don't forget, you guys can super chat or you can subscribe to the channel by becoming a member. If I have more members, I will start doing members only content. Like different, I could do like music video reactions, things that might not necessarily have to do with politics, things I'm also passionate outside of just politics and law. But let's talk about this story real quick, briefly. A trans rights protest at the Iowa Capitol amid a bill vote started to look a little bit like an insurrection. Let's actually take a quick look here. We can take a look at some videos and some pictures of this woke trans rights protest in Iowa and exactly what was going on there. Take a look at this video right here. Well, that was the scene in the Iowa Capitol today. It was clearly an insurrection and probably one of the scariest things that's ever happened, especially because, I mean, look at that. Are you not scared? I'm constantly called a transphobe. I must be trembling in fear right now. I'm also a fat phobe, so double the fear. These are people advocating against a bill as in the Iowa Senate is preparing to vote on a bill that would remove gender identity as a protected class under the state's civil rights law. The demonstration involved hundreds of people and was marked by chants and the display of numerous signs expressing opposition to the proposed legislation, while the protest was described by some social media posts as a storming or insurrection. Obviously, we saw that from some. It's a massive video, massive protest. I don't know how the bill actually shook out. I don't know if they've actually voted on it yet. But this was the scene in the Iowa State Capitol today, and the thing is hopefully it passes. And it's really, like I said in the last for the last clip that I just did, is it's very nice to see that we are starting to return to some level of normalcy. A man is a man and a woman is a woman, and you can't change that. And anybody who believes that you can is, I'm sorry, mentally ill. And the compassionate thing to do, here's what I actually, let me see if I can pull it up. I had an exchange. This is kind of going on a little tangent. That's what I do sometimes, though. It lets you into my life a little bit. But I had an exchange with an individual who just the other day was talking to me about having compassion, being a compassionate person, and that I was just so terrible. I was basically a Nazi. I'll even pull up the, if it lets me log in here, I will pull up the conversation. Talk to me about compassion. And I swear I will bring back to exactly what I'm talking about here. But this is what the left does, is they talk about things like having compassion for someone else. But what they don't talk about is, I want to see if I can pull up just the messages. Did he block me? He might have blocked me. Yes. So I got blocked by this individual. Sorry, this page isn't available. I got blocked by this individual. And so you could see I have other people that I've talked about things with, but I got blocked by this individual, but I can still pull up the conversation that I had with him. He wants me. So I posted a video. And when I talk about compassion, I'll wrap up that trans thing real quick. The compassionate thing to do is to help these people seek help and not validate the delusion that they live in, because that only will denigrate society. Not only that will denigrate themselves, society, and their mind so much more if you validate the insanity. But let's talk about this person. This person who has blocked me. Dieter McBusiness is his name. It's not his real name. He has some like 200 follower show on YouTube that he does with a buddy where he just kind of goes on stupid liberal rants. And I posted a video, you might have seen it on my YouTube, where I just say, let's question Darwinism. It's something I'm passionate about outside of just politics. Is, everybody always says that Darwinism, you're basically crazy if you question Darwinism. And I'm over here like, well, I'm crazy in a lot of other ways. So let's question the countervailing idea. You don't question it, it's not scientific. If we're not allowed to question it, then we're not practicing science. But this individual, yeah, well, if you take your education seriously, at some point you will understand that science is the pursuit of fact, not opinion. You're advocating for willful ignorance, not original thought. You should check out my essays. I should check out his essays. I'd love to read his essays. Turns out they're actually videos, but spoiler alert. They explain that MAGA Christianity is narcissistic Christianity. Conservative Christians are neither true Christians nor are they legitimate intellectuals. You want a level of intellectual status that you haven't earned. Get a real education, man. This person is telling me to get a real education. I need to get a real education. I'm a Catholic. I say that because a lot of people just try to group Christians into this one big bubble, but it's actually different. There's a difference. And then I tell him, I'm like, science was actually, a lot of science was discovered because Catholics seek answers. People like Descartes was a major philosopher, Catholic. Mendel was a biologist. Copernicus, of course. There's a false dichotomy between science and religion, and anybody who claims that science is exclusive from religion doesn't really know science or the history of science. And then as for education, in case you didn't know, I went to public school for K through 12, very liberal teachers. I have 2 bachelor's degrees from a state secular institution, wasn't Christian. 2 bachelor's degrees as well, not just one. And one of them is from a social science at a public institution. So definitely got a liberal indoctrination there. I'm in the process of getting my law degree at a private Christian institution. First time I've ever attended a Christian school. I have more education than most are fortunate enough to have. I'm very, very thankful and grateful for that. And I plan to do good and spread the wealth of knowledge that I'm gaining with those that might not necessarily have been as fortunate. And then I tell him I'd be happy to read his essays. Then he calls me a joke, but if I want to come on his show, to let him know. I didn't respond to that. I had to think about the offer to be on his show because to my very rational responses, he calls me a joke. That's good. My girlfriend doesn't always think I'm funny, but apparently to this man, I'm hilarious. When I just asked what he then, like 5 days later, out of nowhere, comes into my DMs at 3:25 in the morning. At 3:25 in the morning, he says, when you just ask questions and don't listen to smart people when they give you answers, that's willful ignorance. There's no such thing as a legitimate law degree from a Christian academic institution. You think you're entitled to the same intellectual respect as the real intellectuals who have already done the work to find the answers to your childish questions. In word, you're brainwashed. Do I respond? I love interacting with people like this. I think it is probably some of the most entertaining things because it's not even a debate. It's this person. I don't even want to call him brainwashed. That's giving him too much credit. He's just dumb. Like this person is dumb. And I don't mean that to sound mean. But to be dumb isn't to necessarily lack a level of knowledge in and of itself. To be dumb is to not be open to receiving more knowledge. To be dumb is to lack an open mind, to recognize that you might not know everything. I don't know everything. I don't know everything. The smartest man in the world knows nothing, but seeks all the knowledge he can find. This goes further and further where he goes on rants telling me that I have anti-expertise views. It's not true at all. Then eventually he calls me a Confederate Christian nationalist. He compared my entire ideology to a child throwing a temper tantrum. And then he says, I'm an intellectually inferior. I just suck. To which I tell him his hubris blinds him, which is exactly what I'm saying. There are liberals that I've met, very, very smart people, very open-minded people. And that is where true knowledge comes from, is being able to recognize that you don't have it. There are things that you don't know. The only thing I know is I know nothing. You can tell me who said that in the comments. You get a gold star. It's valueless, but you'll get it. And then I tried to reason with him. And that's difficult. It is a difficult piece, is that it's difficult to reason with somebody who is unreasonable. I try to say, like, am I a human to you? Am I a person? Do you really believe that there's zero logic behind what I believe? That, like, and when I say there's zero logic, like, to a liberal, they can a lot of times come up with an illogical train of logic. Meaning they'll have a this to this to this that sounds like a logical train of thought, but the presumption of it entirely is on something that's false. And so it becomes an illogical train of logic, if that makes sense. He called me underdeveloped. I'm an underdeveloped person, which gave me flashbacks to when I took history and learned about slavery. That's what I was like, he's basically like treating me the same way that slave owners treated their slaves. I'm underdeveloped. Interesting. And then he tells me, this is a very interesting, this is another reason why I share this is not only because it's fun, but it also gives you an insight into how people think, right? It gives you an insight into how people that disagree with you think about me and think about people like me. He tells me this. He goes, you are not an empathetic person if you think conservatism is in any way intellectually valid in today's America. Now, this doesn't make sense. This entire statement. Now, if he had cut it off and said you are not an empathetic person if you are a conservative, that would at least be coherent. I would disagree with it still, but it would at least be a coherent thought. The difficulty with this statement, you are not an empathetic person if you think conservatism is in any way intellectually valid, is that it equates empathy, which is entire feeling. Empathy is entirely based on feeling and your emotional intelligence. But then he equates that with intellectually valid, which implies like your knowledge-based intelligence, your intelligence quotient, your IQ. Those two things are diametrically opposed to some extent. Maybe not diametrically opposed, but opposed nonetheless in some way, in the fact that empathy is entirely based on your feeling and your intelligence and what you know, what is fact-based, don't necessarily always combine. You can be the most empathetic person in the world and also an incredibly intelligent person. It doesn't make sense. And I kind of try to explain that here. He says, no, it's my way of calling you an intellectual child. I'm an intellectual child, everybody. And then he goes on, I want to know where the essays. I said, I come in here. I said, I'm still waiting on those essays. I wanted to read these essays. I was going to react to the essays. Should I? He then says they're the earliest videos on his YouTube channel. And that's wild to me. That's wild to me because he said essays. I always consider if somebody uses essay, maybe the definition in a dictionary is different, but an essay is written. You can have a video essay, but I'd call that a video or a podcast or a monologue. It's a little bit different. And then this is where I really came to a good fruition in this conversation. I said to him, you talk a lot about empathy. This is to a lot of leftists. You talk a lot about empathy, but you seem to have none for me. Think about from his perspective, where he's at. I am so unempathetic. I lack empathy. It's something I physically and emotionally cannot do in his mind. But at the same time, he shows me none. by flat out telling me he doesn't respect me, by calling me an intellectual child. Now, if he truly believes I'm so uneducated, that I'm so unintelligent, an empathetic person would seek to show me the light, to show me how smart he is, but he can't. He can't. He compares MAGA to a rape of the nation. And then I tell him, he asked me earlier, if we go all the way back up here, you might remember, he said, I can come on his show if he wants. Then after a little bit of conversation, I say, I will join a stream of yours purely for the entertainment. I wanted to go on this show at this point. I was like, I think this would be fun. I think it'd be interesting because I could see so many holes in the things that he says that I'd knock right into it. And then he says, I don't want you on my show, bro. Bro. People like you need less attention, not more. If I had you on, that would only imply I respect you. And I said, but Mr. McBusiness, you asked me. This is kind of where I become a little bit of an ass, I'll admit. The respect is the problem. Yeah, I changed my mind. And then I tried to tell him, I was like, you could start off by saying you don't respect me. I don't care. No one can question it. And then he changed his mind. And I was like, so a conservative changed your mind on something, right? Right? He didn't want to admit it. I changed his mind. This poor lost soul. And I told him it would be to his benefit. My platform is far more popular than his. And it's not to brag. But to some extent to say, like, he thinks that he's on this pedestal, that he is just so far intellectually superior. I even try to dig into this a little bit by calling him the smartest man alive. I'd love for him to educate me, tell me how wrong I am. He proclaims on the digital mountaintop that he's intellectually superior. But to actually prove it with simple conversation scares him. He is truly afraid of talking to me, and I think it's because on his own platform, small as it may be, I would embarrass him. Then he calls me a Nazi. And then he's like, if you're still a Trump supporter? And I was like, I am still a Trump supporter. But how does that make me a Nazi? And then I ask him how. I ask him how multiple times. He goes, do your homework, man. I do. I have contracts to still do tonight. And find other news sources because you're clearly not paying attention. Man, what? Then he says, conservatives by definition driven by fear. So nice try, Nazi. Then I sent him the definition of conservative. Nowhere in there does it say driven by fear. Can I be any more clear? Then he laughed. I made him laugh. See, you don't think for yourself. You just search for sources of certainty. And I was just going for sources that I thought he would respect because he said by definition. So I checked the definition. And then he tries to tell me all these things about, like, here's what I should go look at. Here's what I should go look at. Why can't you just tell me? Why can't you just have a conversation with me? You reached out to me. Again, I did not seek out your conversation. You sought out mine. And so then I had it. Then we went further. He said, if you're MAGA, you're the problem. And then I was like, I'm not 100% MAGA, though. I'm not. Because I believe that we should ban abortion nationwide and all cosmetic gender reassignment surgery. I'm not 100% MAGA. MAGA doesn't believe in those things. Then he wants me to repent because I'm evil and a Nazi. I'm terrible. And I said, let me know when you're not too scared to talk to me publicly. Then he says, stop projecting. And I was like, but I want to talk to you publicly. I will do it. Let's get it on the books. Then he says, react to my early essays if you want. I'm not giving you any more attention. And so maybe I will. Do you guys want me? Let me know in the comments if you think I should react to this man's early essays. Not tonight, but sometime maybe this weekend. And then I left it there. And since then, Dieter McBusiness has now blocked me. So that is my story of Dieter McBusiness, who is just a wild time. And I'm happy I got to share with you guys those messages because that's hilarious. I think it's hilarious that happened. Good thing I had time that night to engage with such a radical individual, radically stupid individual, frankly. But I appreciate you guys joining, everybody who did. And the Epstein file release was an absolute shit show. There was nothing of serious importance in it, nothing we didn't already know. But I will continue to follow that story and many others. So don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share with your friends. I'd really appreciate it. And if you feel so inclined, send a super chat, become a member of the channel, give anything you can to this struggling in-debt law student. I'd appreciate it. And as I always say, I'm praying for you. I am. Whether you agree with me or not, I am. I'm praying for you. God bless you. God bless America. And thank you so much for tuning in to Speechless.